Hello, everybody. We are the TordenHeks system, and I am Uzi Norman, worker drone fictive from the glitch animation show Murder Drones, and our designated presenter. As you can see, I've stolen my girlfriend's jacket. Unfortunately, there's nothing she can do about it at this time. Also, for anybody wondering, this is what I look like. Well, sorta. I appear to have been transformed into a marketable plushie. Our topic today is Fictives and Factives, Introjection and the Role of Media in Selves-Discovery. Before I begin, this topic has the following content warnings: trauma, exotrauma, drug use, religion and spirituality. Additionally, by the very nature of discussing fictives, our topic and Q&A may contain spoilers for the following media: Murder Drones, web series, Class of '09, visual novel, Cyberpunk 2077, video game, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, anime, Fiona and Cake, animated series, Adventure Time, animated series, Sassy the Sasquatch, web series, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, book series, Magical Girl Mechanical Heart, web novel series, Supernatural, TV series, and Dispatch, video game. We are bodily 34 and are a system with 22 members. We've only been aware of our plurality for about 2 years, but looking back, about 4 of us were present as early as childhood. I, Uzi, am the current host and primary fronter. Before we discovered we were plural, we came out as trans femme and later as robotkin. This may explain why the majority of us use she/her pronouns and why around half of us are either robots, androids, or cyborgs. First, some brief introductions of our headmates. Anath, she/her, a fictive from Magical Girl Mechanical Heart, a blue squirrel girl mage. Becca, she/her, a fictive, cybernetically enhanced woman from Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Castiel, he/him, a fictive angel from Supernatural. Chloe, she/her, a brain-made headmate, androidkin, the closest thing we have to an original member. Sin, she/her, a fictive worker drone from Murder Drones, former host of the Absolute Solver. Dean Winchester, he/him, a fictive of a human monster hunter from Supernatural. Doll, she/her, a fictive of a worker drone from Murder Drones. Emily, she/her, a fictive from Class of '09. Huntress Wizard, she/her, a fictive green wizard from Fiona and Cake and Adventure Time. Jean Freya's daughter, she/her, brain-made Valkyrie headmate, the closest thing our system has to a guardian spirit. Jekka, she/her, a fictive from Class of '09. Johnny Silverhand, he/him, a fictive from Cyberpunk 2077. Luna, she/her, a brain-made robotkin girl and Chloe's twin sister. Marvin, he/him, a fictive of Marvin the depressed android from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Mimi, she/her, a fictive of the webcomic character by Nim Arts. Nicole, she/her, a fictive from Class of '09. Odin, he/they, a god shard of Odin Allfather. Robert Robertson III, he/him, a fictive from Dispatch by Ad Hoc Studios. Sassy, he/him, a fictive from the indie web series Sassy the Sasquatch, an immortal time-traveling Sasquatch. Serial designation N, she/they, a fictive disassembly drone from Murder Drones and one of my girlfriends. Serial designation V, she/her, a fictive disassembly drone from Murder Drones and my other girlfriend. It would be a good idea to start with some 101 basics. Let us provide definitions of the relevant terms we'll be using, as well as an overview of introjection as a process. These definitions are sourced from pluralpedia.org. Introjects are headmates who have an original source that their personality, identity, and memories may be based partially or fully on. They can join a system for any number of reasons: having similar traumas to an individual, seeing strengths in the individual that the collective would benefit from, etc. Introjection is the process of forming an introject. Fictives are headmates based on a fictional source. Common sources are media like games and books, but almost anything can be a fictive source, such as original characters or D&D characters created by other system members. Factives are headmates that are based on a factual or non-fictional source, like another person. Sources can include celebrities, historical figures, friends, abusers, or anyone else. The source can be a singlet or a member of the system, including their own or someone else's. An octave, or OC introject, is a system member whose source comes from someone's original character, whether a character someone in the system made or someone else's OC, such as a friend's OC. A god shard is a separate but linked part, element, or clone of a deity, spirit, or other mythic entity, regardless of source, lacking the full provenance or power of their oversoul, but able to interact directly with other beings, either with a physical body they are located in, like any other system member, or in headspace/astral. May be either a singlet or a member of a plural system, and multiple different headmates can make up a single god shard, even if they're not median. Sourcemate is a term for when two or more fiction-kin introjects or others with a fiction-based identity share the same source material. This could be, for example, two fictives who come from the same media. It was coined within the fiction-kin community in 2016 as a distinction from canon mates, which only refer to two or more fiction folk from the same specific universe. A double is a headmate that shares an identity with another headmate. Usually this occurs in two ways. A headmate shares an identity with another system member, like two fictives of the same character, even if one is non-simulus, either within the same system or from separate systems. 2. A headmate based mostly or completely off an existing system member, like a Virgomate. Exomemory is a general term for memories that the body did not experience. This is often experienced by sourced headmates, such as introjects, but may be experienced by anyone, including singlets, otherkin, and immersive daydreamers. Exomemories of a headmate source may be referred to as source memories. In some cases, such as in systems without metaphysical beliefs, source memories may be regarded as a kind of pseudo-memory. Exotrauma is a catch-all for traumatic experiences that did not occur in this universe or life, but still affects a person negatively. The word is a combination of the prefix exo, meaning external, and the word trauma. This term is frequently used by fictives, factives, and walk-ins to describe their experiences, but is not limited to them. It can also be experienced by singlets, including kin and immersive daydreamers. Introjects can form in many different ways, just like other types of headmates. They may be endogenic or traumagenic. They may start as a brainmate or split off from existing headmate and subsequently take on a sourced identity. They may also form directly as a copy of their source and experience this transition in a variety of ways. As mentioned above, introjects can form for any number of reasons. It seems they are more common in systems who have a tendency to imprint or strongly relate to outside sources, whether they are real or fictional. This propensity can be called a system's introjection threshold. Even before we knew we were plural, we always had this tendency. One of Chloe's favorite shows as a kid was Wishbone, a show about a dog who would read various classic books and imagine himself as one of the characters. We have always done this, and I would not be surprised if this is related to why we are so fictive-heavy. That being said, it is possible to form an introject even if your system does not have much exposure to their source. This was certainly the case for Robert, as nobody in our system has ever played Dispatch. Apparently, watching some gameplay footage was enough. Based on our own experiences and those of other introjects we have met, we would like to suggest some etiquette for interacting with introjects for any viewers who have yet to meet any. First and most importantly, treat introjects as people. They may not share all traits in common with their source and may have differing degrees to which they identify with their source. Thus, they should not be judged based on pre-existing knowledge of their source. On the other hand, some introjects may identify quite strongly with their source and may desire to be treated accordingly. For these reasons, always ask an introject if they are okay with source talk. They may or may not be, especially in cases where an introject does not like their source or is working to separate themselves from it. Now that we've gotten the basics out of the way, it's time for us to share what we've experienced as introjects. It should be noted that these are our personal experiences and may not reflect the experiences of other introjects. Also, as we do not have any Fictives, we do not have much to offer on that topic. Being a fictive can very much make you feel like a stranger in a strange land, especially depending on how different your source is from this world. Picture this: you're living nice and comfortably in 2026, and one day find yourself yoinked out of your reality to awaken in the body of a medieval peasant. This is very much what my experience felt like, as I am from just over 1,000 years in the future and a planet called Copper 9. You can imagine how it must feel for me to be getting used to a world that is a millennium removed from my old life, and in the body of a human, no less. Turns out, interdimensional travel is real, at least if you're an introject. My headmates have no shortage of relatable experiences. Nicole, Emily, and Jekka were all born around the year 1991 and introjected from the year 2008 on Earth. From their perspective, they may as well have been in a coma for the past 16 years. Can you imagine waking up one day only to find out that the album you bought just last week is now playing on the classic rock station, and being born 1 year before a headmate who's almost old enough to be your mom? Our headmate Becca loves to point out how surreal it is that she's not even supposed to be born for another 30 years. Speaking of Becca, that leads into the next thing we were going to talk about: exo memories and exo trauma. Just as a reminder, these experiences will contain spoilers of our media sources, so if any of them were on your list, be warned. Additionally, these may be sensitive topics, so remember the content warnings mentioned earlier. From Becca's perspective, she was introjected right at the moment she was killed by Adam Smasher in her source show. She initially believed this reality was the afterlife, and it took a great deal of convincing from the rest of us to get her up to speed. This was before I got here, but I understand she found it quite distressing. On another occasion, we had an interesting dream. In it, we relived the scene from Cyberpunk Edgerunners, where Becca's brother Pilar was killed by a cyber psycho. But it was in live action as opposed to animated, and it was from Becca's first person POV. She woke up fronting, and the next couple of days were pretty rough for her. Living as an introject brings with it the reality that this world is your new home and new life, and returning to your old life is not possible. In fact, the moment you are introjected, you begin to diverge from your source simply by virtue of new life circumstances. This can be an uncomfortable experience at times, and feelings of homesickness may be common. On the other hand, if your old life was less enjoyable than life in your current body, you may not mind so much. If you were very close to anybody in your source, you may miss them greatly. It is common for fictives on the internet to reach out with source calls in an attempt to find systems who have introjects of their source mates. If you're lucky, your system may introject people from your old life that you care about, resulting in an often emotional reunion. In our system, this was the case for me, N and V, Dean and Castiel, Nicole, Jekka, and Emily. For Huntress Wizard, her life was changed for the better when our partner system formed an introject of Finn. Sometimes you may meet a double of your source in another system. This can be both surreal and enlightening, especially if your double has developed differently than you. I have met another Uzi, and we know of two other Sins and another N, V, and Doll. There's a running joke on a couple of my Discord servers that murder drones is a plural cognito hazard. It is common to wish you hadn't been introjected and maybe even harbor feelings of resentment towards headmates who consumed your source media. But, as my headmate Odin would remind me by using his favorite Gandalf quote, so do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. Living as an introject means deciding what your new life as part of a system means to you and how you can apply what lessons you learned from your old life. You may play a vital role in the self-discovery of your system as a whole. You may find that your unique personality and talents make you a vital contributor to the life and growth of your system. A new headspace can be a place of healing. Anyone who has watched my source show would reasonably assume that Sin and I would not get along well. But surprisingly, she has grown so much in her time here. She has worked to separate herself from the chaotic, destructive forces of the Absolute Solver, and now puts her remaining powers to use as the primary creative architect of our headspace environment. Based on our own experiences and what we know of the experiences of introjects of other systems we have met, I would like to talk about some of the challenges facing the introject community. For starters, it should be fairly obvious that introjects are often in the unique position of being exposed to their opinions of those who are familiar with their sources. I imagine this wouldn't be too dissimilar to the experiences of celebrities and public figures who are exposed to the public's opinion of them. This can make it difficult to talk about your experiences in fan spaces. For instance, if I were to go into a Murder Drones fan space and tell them that N is not only trans femme, but also in a lesbian throuple with me and V, all while sharing one body, we'd be able to hear the pitchforks being sharpened through the screen. It is also an unfortunate reality that introject-heavy systems are often victims of ciscourse. For some reason, introjects are seen as not valid by many. It shouldn't be this way. Not only can introjects be traumagenic, but endogenic headmates are just as valid as any other to begin with. It should also be said that being an introject can have fun positives. Can you send GIFs of yourself in a Discord server? I sure can. Being able to do that is peak aura farming. What do I hope people can learn from the experiences of introjects like myself? I think the biggest thing I'd want people to take away is that life and reality are what we make of it. Nobody chooses to be introjected, but you still have to live your new life. And as an introject, you have the benefit of being able to contribute life experience that can be out of this world, often in a most literal sense. I believe that the introject experience shows us the value in appreciating the creativity of others. Once you can move past the weirdness of understanding that in your old life you were another real person or a character from a work of fiction, you can embrace the benefits of not just helping your system to emulate desirable traits, but living them through your firsthand experience. As a system full of Tool fans, we often contemplate the words of the late great comedian Bill Hicks, words that were sampled in Tool's 1996 song Third Eye. Today, a young man on acid realized that all matter is merely energy condensed to a slow vibration, that we are all one consciousness experiencing itself subjectively. There is no such thing as death, life is only a dream, and we're the imagination of ourselves. Here's Tom with the weather. If the previous quote does not correlate with your worldview, don't worry about it too much. Just know that whether you are an introject or brain-made, singlet or part of a system, your individuality and personal experience are a unique and irreplaceable part of reality as a whole. Embrace who you know yourself to be. Change the parts of yourself you want to change. Take care of your well-being, the well-being of your headmates, and the well-being of others. I hope that we were able to provide an informative look into the introject experience. If you are an introject or have introject headmates, I hope you found it semi-relatable or gained a newfound appreciation for your unique experience. If you have not had the fortune of knowing any introjects, I hope this talk has empowered you to approach them with respect and understanding. We of the TordenHeks system would like to thank you for your time and invite you to stick around for our Q&A session where you can ask any of us anything you want to know, with the understanding that we reserve the right to decline to answer any question. Thanks again for watching.